pleasure of being here today with these fine legends of wrestling. We've all loved these guys and ladies growing up. It's my pleasure to introduce to you this cast of characters. Coming up to the stage, whoever would like to come up first, of course we've got the Ace, Cowboy, Bob Orton. That's right. Next up, we have the master of the jobbers. No, I'm kidding. One of the best guys in the business, Mr. Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler. All right, I'm already in trouble, I see. And of course, we have the very lovely Miss Barbie Blank. Next up, the master of the DDT himself. Oh, or the master of the fraud splash. The one, the only, the whole show himself. RVD Rob Van Dam. And then, of course, the king of the DDT, Mr. Jake the Snake Roberts. So I'm going to all right, so we're going to leave this show for these guys to tell you some stories. We're going to be asking a lot of questions from the fans out there.
Well, tell me more about that story with the master jobber.
Oh, wait. I do not want to be put through this table today.
Because I didn't get that. I don't understand that.
So that was my one.
Is that like a sexual thing or something? Or I mean, I don't know.
Jake the Snake Roberts!
That was cold.
That was very cold. It was wrong on my part. Thank you to everybody for being here. This is an absolute pleasure. You guys are definitely legends of wrestling and of the Squared Circle, and we're all honored to have you guys here. You guys open for some questions?
Nope.
They sound so excited. All right, here, I'm gonna put this here for you guys. All right, who do we got? Back here. I'm gonna come out to you guys.
Oh, you're going to get as far away from Steve as you can. That might be a good idea.
Don't you have to have a microphone to have him?
I have no wireless.
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you.
Low budget.
Low budget.
I'm going to bring him up here so we can hear him.
Wow, this is going to take all day. Oh, wow, he wants a mic.
Can you hold the mic? Can you be Mean Gene for a second?
I cannot, but I will try. Here you go. What is your question for these fine folks?
All right, firstly, I want to say thank you so much for all of your years of services to everybody on the panel. So everyone, please give them a round of applause.
Wow.
Okay, so what might...
Wow.
Behave, please. So here's my question. Sociologists have determined through experimentation and research that when you take a group of individuals, including alphas, hold on, let's see the questions, including alphas, generally the following social template typically plays out. Generally in a group, a leader emerges from the pack, there's always an enforcer, there's a joker, and then there's a nerd. So if you guys can reflect on maybe any locker room settings or car rides where this sort of thing played out, who were those individuals that came out as the leader, the enforcer, the nerd, and the joker? Please, do tell, do tell.
Who was the alpha?
That's a great question for Jake to answer.
Okay. Just to take care of this question, I don't mind doing it at all. Can you guys keep a secret? Can you? So can I.
Bob, you want to add to that? Who was the Joker back then, and the leader, and the whatever the fuck? Back then, meaning, before I was around.
You mean way back then?
I don't know, Roddy and I just stayed in their own room and left everybody else alone. Yeah, I kind of like it that way.
As far as jokers in the dressing room, Owen Hart was one of the classics. Jay Strongbow, he was a joker. Jay Strongbow was a joker.
Jay Strongbow,
No, he was a joke, I'm sorry. Wrong division, man. I'm sorry, listen up. Let's get a real question.
Triple H has always been a really fun joker.
Hi guys. Most people will probably ask you, who your favorite wrestler to wrestle was. I'm gonna flip it and ask who you'd rather not wrestle again. Maybe their beer stunk, maybe you guys just didn't have chemistry. Whatever the reason is why you didn't want to be back in the ring with them, but who would you guys rather not be back in the ring with?
Wow. I'll go ahead and get this one out of the way. I could not spend time in the ring with Vader. He made me absolutely miserable. I wrestled him twice. He broke my sternum twice. And I went and talked to him about it. His excuse was, I'm sorry, but when I get in the ring with you, the people get into the match, man, and I get so pumped up and so excited, I just go crazy. And I said, well, I'm going to help you with that. You'll never see me in the ring again. And he hasn't. I'm sorry that he's gone. I'm sorry for his family. But damn, man. Next.
I love Rikishi, and I'm so glad I never got the stink face.
Not from Rikishi, but from...
I'm just glad I never got that
from him.
Rikishi.
But from other people, it was okay, right?
Well, that's relative and circumstantial.
Did Barbie give you stink face?
I mean, I know.
I didn't think so. Why'd you say that?
I can't imagine it would be the same experience.
one time I was in a match, I dislocated my elbow on the top rope, snapped it backwards, completely backwards. I was wrestling Paul Roma. I said, Paul, I'm hurt, let's go home. You know what he said? Watch the elbow, and threw me in. So we've got my friend Massimo here, little macho man. You got a question?
What are your most memorable moments?
Leaving here today.
I was going to say, you asking that question.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Besides you asking that question, because that's the clearest right now. But, my most memorable moment. You mean in wrestling, right? Okay. Well,
I got that one. I got Andre the Giant farting on me. That was memorable. Yeah. It lasted about 40 seconds, man. It was like... That's where the airline went to. Oh, okay. Stand up and say that. Oh, you were.
But also for me, bringing ECW back as a third brand, like that was, and everything that it took to get that, the match against Cena, but that was because that was everything that I stood for and that we stood for against everything that he stood for. So there was so much going into that match. You see that match? Yeah, so out of my career, that's like my crowning moment. So I'm going to go with that for the most memorable because it was so significant and impactful on the industry. We were actually bringing back, like adding to the Raw and SmackDown. So pretty proud of the way that initiated. Maybe not the way it all followed through.
For me, definitely winning the Divas Championship. It was such a long road for me to finally get to that point, and I was so excited, especially because the fans voted for it, and so it was just so amazing. My family was watching, and everybody was really excited, and it was for the fans, so yes.
For me, it had to be wrestling and losing, and then have the biggest win of my life, beating Triple H right in the middle.
That was a shoot.
That is a shoot. For me, just about every night was a great night, because back in my day, everybody we went up against was very, very good. For the last question, though, before this one, I would say Outback Jack would be my most disappointing match.
All right, what's your name?
WrestleMania 1 was my greatest.
All right, come on over here so we're away from the speaker.
I know you guys probably get this question like a lot, but what is one person who you would just love to get in the ring, or not like get in the ring again, but like someone who you would love to wrestle, like who you haven't wrestled yet?
Well, I challenged Bray Wyatt to a stripper pole match. And I think I can take him. I see it, for me, it'd be a toss-up between Bray and Bob's son. I've always wanted to work with Randy. I think he could get something out of the experience. I respect him immensely. I think that he's got everything that he takes, and I think he's just one click away from having it absolutely right. And I just like the kid, man. Regardless of what anybody else says, I don't give a shit. Every darn heck, whatever. But it's really hard to go out there and perform all the time. And especially with the TV product being the way it is today, it's guts out every time you go out there. And to me, he's always done guts out. And he's quite innovative. I like that. That's why I would want to work with Bray also. He's very innovative, man. And we never get boring, And I had the pleasure of wrestling Bob several times. And that guy at the end there is probably one of the most underrated wrestlers that you've ever met.
Talking about Steve or me?
You. I can't get in the ring with Steve. Hell, he's gonna win over Triple H. Are you kidding me? I'm carrying his bag back to the car. No, but that's the great thing about being in the ring with some of the greats in the past, man. Is every time you went out there, you got something out of it, man. It was a real joy. I remember wrestling Ronnie Garvin several times. I know Bob's wrestled Ronnie. And it was always an experience with Ronnie. Holy crap. I remember I used to be beating on him, and I looked down at him, and I know that he wasn't going to make his comeback yet because he had to give me his tail sign. You know what a tail sign is, right? You know what a tail sign is? That's sort of like you look down and you know the guy thinks to do it, man, because you see something that's going to tell you what you do. Well, with Ronnie, it was simple. His nipples would get hard. And years later, that really disturbed me. Because I thought, what did that really mean? Because I'd be beating on him and wailing on him, and Ronnie liked for you to hit him hard, man. So I had no problem with that. And I looked down, and if his nipples were getting hard, he's fixing to get up and beat my ass, man. And it was just a pleasure to be out there with him or Bobber. So many great guys, man, that you guys don't even know. Are you kidding me? He's a stiff prick. Sylvester Ritter was a stiffy. JYD, God bless him, man, he's gone. And I remember working with him in Stu Hart's place up there, man. Oh my God.
You get the goosebumps. When you're whipping on him, you start getting them goosebumps.
Yeah, then you gotta look out. He's coming up.
I'd say, JYD, you settle down now.
Yeah.
Settle down. If you get up, knock the shit out of you.
Yeah, I would. That's the only guys I'm scared of, is the guys that get so excited that you're beating on them. What does that mean exactly? You know? Let's try it later and we'll find out.
This is all new to me, by the way.
Right. He lives in Vegas too, by the way. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I don't remember wrestling anyone in particular, remembering them getting aroused in any way. So this is interesting to me as well.
That's not true.
Except for Jake.
Okay, thank you.
I don't really have like a fantasy pick, you know what I mean? I don't imagine myself wrestling other people. But to answer your question, who would I wrestle that I haven't wrestled? I'm just gonna go with my mentor, the original Sheik, because he's not around anymore, but he never really got to see what I developed into. I want to say how good I became, but I think that would sound arrogant. But I would like, so for that reason, it would be cool to work with the Sheik so that he would be able to see that he wasn't wasting his time training me. But at the same time, I wouldn't want him to cut my forehead up, so.
Last question.
Oh, okay. I would say Charlotte Flair for sure. I think she's amazing. Her background and everything from being a gymnast, we have very similar backgrounds with that, and I just think what she's been able to do in the WWE is just amazing, and so she would be definitely a dream match.
This is actually a very tough question for me because I've wrestled Bruno Sammartino. I wrestled The Rock's first match in his career. I wrestled Bret Hart's first match in WWE. I wrestled Ricky Steamboat's first match in WWE. I wrestled Mark Henry's first match in WWE. I pretty much wrestled everyone that I've ever wished to wrestle. So it's a tough question for me.
Yeah, I myself would like to go back in time so I can wrestle my kid. I would get I think I could still whip him too.
How was it working with, working with Mean Gene? Hold on. Mean Gene.
What was it like working with Mean Gene? Oh, there you go, he never did it.
Well, the interviews were pretty simple for me. Mean Gene had a little streak in him that he had a bad habit, and he shouldn't have been doing it really as a commentator or not as an interviewer. He would try to steal your interview in the last line. He'd try to take your thunder. And I simply told him, if you try that with me, I'll dump a snake down your pants. That seemed to get his attention. It's a good threat to have available, Yeah, I hate that stinking snake. Hey guys, you've been wonderful, but I've got to make a phone call now.
Is this something we can't hear, or would you like to share the phone call?
I have nothing bad to say about Mean Gene. He was a class act. Total class act. Always enjoyed being interviewed by him and listening to his interviews.
Still see Gene once in a while. When you go around, he's always a great guy. He's a great guy to work with.
Right. Come on up.
What was your favorite WrestleMania moment?
Favorite WrestleMania moment?
I guess my favorite WrestleMania moment would be attending WrestleMania 3 as a fan. like I was a kid like you, maybe a little bit older, but it was a huge deal. Pontiac Silverdome, and that's where Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant. I was out in the crowd with a Jake the Snake Roberts shirt on. Yeah. Good times.
My favorite moment had to have been with me and Maria Menounos against Eve Torres and Beth Phoenix. It was great.
I would say my favorite WrestleMania moment was WrestleMania 5 when I got to manage my manager, the late great Barbie Heenan. Yes, the Revolution.
My favorite WrestleMania moment was when I knocked Paul Orndorff out with a cat. On my team.
Come on up. Are you in for a question? Or you just, all right. Come on up. We got the stripes here.
That's the whole effing show. I was called the whole effing show, so it's good to meet you. Yeah, and see, I just said I'm so inspired. Jake left, so I can't say about him now, but I'm inspired by the legends, RVD and Kelly, Barbie, but Steve and Bob have been my favorite heels since the 80s. I just want to know who all your inspirations was to get into the business.
I feel like I've answered this a lot, like in interviews and stuff, but I have a different answer than I think most people because, like, I think different, and I've always been attracted to different. So when I grew up watching wrestling, most of my friends and all the other fans picked their favorites. My guy that really inspired me first and hooked me in, like, was never winning matches, so other people kind of ignored him, but I liked the way that he wrestled. It was Leaping Lanny Poffo. Growing up, like, he made it not just okay, but he made it fun to think outside of the box. Back then, the style was so different. Most of the guys, you know, seemed to be closer to 300 pounds. And when Leaping Lanny would just do like what's now called a moonsault off the second rope, like back then that was like, whoa, never seen that before. Never saw Mexican wrestling, never saw Japanese wrestling. No lucha, it was just WWF is what I grew up on. So Lanny stood out, the only guy that would do like flying head scissors. And for that reason, he seemed aerial acrobatic, and as a fan, I was always behind him. I was always positive, tonight's his night, tonight he's gonna win. And when I'm in the industry, he knows that. I feel like I'm probably one of the only ones that is, the people that have told him that, you know, he was my favorite growing up. He wasn't designed by program necessarily to be that. But Leaping Lanny Poffo, and then for the same reasons, when Owen Hart was the Blue Blazer, yeah, I love that. And I don't know if you guys remember a wrestler named Brady Boone. Yeah. When Brady Boone, he was in WWF for a minute with a mask on, and he called himself Battle Cat or Fire Cat. Battle Cat. And I was just, you know, someone went to slam him, he jumped on his shoulders and did a victory roll. I'd never seen anybody do that, so it was those guys that helped me think, wow, you know, I wonder what other moves I could do that I've never seen done before. So they were my inspiration.
Trish Stratus, it goes without saying. She's amazing. I look up to her still. I think she's just awesome, and I've always looked up to her.
The person I would say that I seen that really impressed the hell out of me, that I thought was an ass kicker, is the original Adrian Adonis.
Oh my God, of course.
All right.
This is actually for Rob. Rob, how did the $1 Million Man segment come down when you were younger? Like, how'd that all play out?
Do you guys know what he's talking about? Is there anyone that doesn't know what he's talking about me and the $1 Million Man? Yeah, some of you don't know. If you know who Ted DiBiase is and you saw the vignettes when way back in the, I guess, 80s, he used to do something every week on TV. He would do something to prove that everyone's got a price, which is true, by the way, right? But you know, if you remember, he did something like he told this kid he would pay him to dribble a basketball 10 times. The kid's dribbling it. Before he gets to 10, he kicks the ball out. But one time there was a kid that got in the ring and he paid him to kiss his foot, and that was me. Yeah, with my Jake the Snake shirt on, by the way. Same time period, I was a fan out in the crowd watching wrestling, and this was at the Kellogg Center in Battle Creek, Michigan, where I grew up. It wasn't a televised show, so it was a really special segment when they were bringing the cameras out to televise Ted DiBiase coming down to the ring. That was the only part they were recording. Everyone knew it was special, so like we bum rushed down to the guardrail. I wasn't sitting in the front row, but by the time he hit the ring, I was in the front row, standing at the guardrail. They had money dropping down from the ceiling. It was a big deal. I don't know if it was singles or 20s or 100s. I have no idea. I never got one of those. But when he's in the ring, he's looking for a volunteer. He like pointed over in my direction, and I jumped that guardrail and dove in the ring so fast. My best friend, who was standing beside me, will always say, until the day we die, that he pointed at him and I just jumped over too fast. But I got in the ring and I was just so excited to be there. I think at that time I already had aspirations of being a professional. Like I was totally committed. I loved it. I went to every show I could that was within 3 or 4 hours. Any show I could make it to, I would go to. So I was at the peak of my fandom at that point. And then Ted DiBiase says, I'll give you $100 to kiss my hot, stinky, sweaty foot. And I was like down there kissing his foot before he finished the sentence. And I'd seen him on TV. I knew the deal. You tell him, no, I'm not going to do it. He has to raise the price. He has to eventually talk you into doing it with money. If he says $400 and you still say no, he's not going to accept that. He's not just going to leave and say, okay, I guess not everyone has their price. But I was the world's worst negotiator. Like I would have given him change back. I was so excited. I kissed his foot, I slapped Virgil on the shoulder. Hey, what's up, Virgil? And now it's a piece of history, and a long time went before anybody knew that was me. Like that didn't help me get into the industry. And once I was in WWE in 2001, I was afraid they would find out and make some ridiculous story angle where this has bothered me since I was 15 years old. I needed my revenge against Ted DiBiase, and I didn't want that at all. And they were filming this show called Before They Were Superstars. And they talk about our childhood, our bringing up, our home life, all that. It was a good show. And on that, it was my dad, I think, that revealed it. I was like, Dad, don't tell him that it was me. And they hadn't used it against me, fortunately, you know, which could have been good stuff. And Ted knows it now, too. I don't know when Ted found out, but when I see him now, he's like, ha ha ha, remember when you kissed my foot? I said, you still owe me. Not really, but that was my first $100 that I made in the business. So.
Come on up.
Okay, so if you could fight in the first blood match, who is your dream opponent? And Barbie, you can answer that too.
First blood match. I've had some really bloody matches. Almost all of mine are what we call the hard way, which means I busted my head open and it bled. If I knew going into a match that either me or my opponent were going to get bloody, and that's part of the stipulations, the goal of the match. I'm going to go with Sabu. Man, Sabu has got so many scars all over his whole body, right? He didn't always look like that. And when I was training with him, he didn't look like that. He started doing all these barbed wire matches in Japan, and he would get more and more cut up, and he loved it because it was a way for him to be like his uncle, but in his own way. Because the Sheik's forehead was so sliced up, you could stick quarters in it, and they would just stick. And Sabu and Sheik did one match where they took the ropes off, it's all barbed wire, then they took 2x4s that were wrapped in kerosene-soaked towels and spaced the 2x4s along the barbed wire, lit it on fire, and the whole thing went up and everybody got hurt, everybody. Everyone was fucked up. Sheik went to the hospital and I think he ended up dying. Like I think as a result, like he got sicker in the hospital, and it just never went away. Sabu was into those crazy matches and stuff. Me, not so much. When Sabu wrestled Terry Funk in ECW, you know that match, right? I was out there with gloves on to help him because I didn't want to get all cut up. And Sabu sliced his arm up so bad, and I was like right there in front of it. He had to get like 120 stitches or something later. But during the match, there was like no stopping him, which I knew. But he was so clever. I don't know if I would have thought about this, but it was like almost instinctual for him. As soon as he sliced himself up, he started ripping his wrist tape off with his teeth, and he started just like taping his own arm up, like right there, like he's on a battlefield. And I couldn't believe that. I was like, whoa, that's so awesome. So, you know, for all the reasons you can imagine, I would do a first blood match with Sabu. Hell yeah.
I just would choose not to do one.
Well, I've had a lot of blood matches, but they weren't called blood matches. Like when I beat Triple H, he split my head open right afterwards, and I was bleeding like crazy. But if I had to go into a match that was labeled a blood match, I think I would pick Tommy Dreamer.
I don't know, I just told him to learn how to work it.
I would have figured it would have been Flair, but you've had a lot of those with him, I'm sure. All right, anybody else? Right down to the end here. Let me, I'll come to you. All right.
Stand up.
We all have favorite matches as fans. What are your favorite matches as a fan? Like, not your own matches, but as...
So I used to really love watching the British Bulldogs. And I remember from being a kid when they would wrestle like the Hart Foundation. Those matches blew me away. Yeah. Right now, just that pops in my head is thinking of, and at WrestleMania 3, by the way, the match that Ricky Steamboat had with Macho Man Randy Savage. That at the time that I think that I thought that was like the best match that I'd ever seen. Yeah. Killer Bees too. I like seeing the tag teams. Killer Bees would mix it up with the Hart Foundation. Yeah. Kelly.
I always loved watching Trish and Lita work. I love their matches together. They always killed it.
I'd have to agree with RVD, Macho Man, and Ricky Steamboat. WrestleMania 3.
I just think some of the greatest matches I ever saw when I was just a kid watching my dad when he ran in Florida.
Yours again? We're sharing. We are sharing. Oh, all right, here you go. You
this question is for Barbie. Could you tell the story of lead up to your involvement with the Women's Royal Rumble? And will you be involved with the future?
The question everyone's been asking.
Was it leading up to the Rumble?
How did you get involved with it?
Okay, so I was actually watching Raw, and I saw Stephanie, announce that they're having the Royal Rumble match, and I remember saying to myself, oh my gosh, I would love to be in that. How can I be in that? What can I do? So I fired off an email to everybody, and I was like, hey, can I be involved? And Triple H called me and said, we would love to have you in the match, and he was like, you just have to keep it quiet. And so I just, I wanted it to be a huge surprise. So when they brought me back for Raw the week before, I was like, I kind of, the fans probably are expecting it now, but it was still a huge surprise, and it was so exciting for me to be a part of. And as far as Evolution, you just have to wait and see.
For the same reasons that Triple H told you before, right?
Or maybe even for everybody here. Is it time for a women's tag team division?
Yes, I think that it is been a long time coming. I think there's so many amazing women and so many, I think, just women right now, tag teams that they're putting together, and I think it's just a no-brainer. I think it's definitely time.
Who do you give the gold to as your inaugural women's tag team champs?
If I could pair up to, I would pair Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair.
Oh, amazing. I like that.
I think over the last couple of years, the women have really stepped it up. They've proven that they can carry the show, they can carry a pay-per-view, they can be in the main event, and I think the WWE women have really proved themselves.
Same way I love watching the gals. The more the merrier.
Yeah, obviously, and I'm sure they will have a tag team division, because I know they do tag matches, 6 men, 6 women matches, whatever. But yeah, it's definitely the way the business is going, and that's good. I don't mean this in a negative way, but way back like in 2001 when I came into WWE, it was still half, it was just changing. The standard for the girls wrestling, it wasn't really so high. A lot of the girls didn't naturally look like they were comfortable with what they were doing. And I'm not going to name names, but if you go back and look and you watch that women's wrestling from 2001, 2002, 2003, if you watch those matches and compare them with the matches now, like, holy shit. Like, women have, like, they know how to work their asses off now. And it's not just them. I mean, everything has to evolve. For the guys, it's evolved too. It's different than it was then, for better or worse. And for women too, everything has to evolve, and that's definitely the way it's going. Is that it's a good time to be a lady.
Oh, so would anybody on the stage ever wrestle Brock? You've been to the ring with Brock, though.
When I wrestled Brock the first time, I didn't know that much about him. You guys saw the match Vengeance or one of those papers? Yeah. I didn't know that much about him. I knew that everybody liked him, and I knew that he was a legit wrestler. And then Kurt Angle had a hard time wrestling with him in a shoot, practicing really, So I knew that, and I knew he looked good. But the first match I had with him, I was talking to him earlier in the day with Paul Heyman, and Paul was trying to tell me about Brock's finishing move, the F5, right? And I had no idea what he was talking about. And I said, "Well, how's that go, Brock?" And Brock goes like this. He goes, "I'm gonna, like, I'll take you like don't worry, I'll get you." And I I'm thinking, how many times have I heard that? I'm always heavier than people expect me to be. I've had so many people say, I'll do a crossbody, I'll catch you, and they blow their knee out and they're mad at me. And I was like, dude, I don't know if he knows, I'm 240 pounds. He thinks he's gonna get me up. During the match, I had no idea what he was doing. He picked me up like I weighed 2 pounds, made me feel like a rag doll, just spun me around. And ever since that match, I've always been a big fan of his and way impressed with him because not only is he strong like the Incredible Hulk, but he's got such an athletic prowess to him, like a lion. And I've always been behind him and always will. Like, even though I don't watch every UFC fight, when he's fighting, I'm gonna buy a ticket and watch it. Yeah. And also, by the way, the credibility that he brings to our industry is awesome. Just like Ronda Rousey, you know. Yeah. The matches are different, obviously, with MMA than they are with pro wrestling, but you'll see that there's a lot of gray in between the black and white. A lot of the same kind of people, you know, would do both, and it's good for us when you get the accomplished, you know, greatest fighters in the world mixing it up, you know, with the pro wrestlers. So that's his value. A lot of people have been upset that Brock can just come in a couple times a year and make more money than everybody else, but it's business. And the motherfucker is marketable.
Well, the way it works is they put a paper on the wall, your name's next to that person, and I've never said no to anybody they put my name next to. And I never will. I've wrestled everyone that they asked me to wrestle, and I've never refused a match in my life.
I've never had the pleasure. And from watching what I've seen, I'm glad I never had the pleasure.
So we got another one over here.
I'd like to ask the whole panel this particular question and on a more serious side. Have you noticed that with WWE now that there is something very much lacking, and by that I mean the humor side of it, like when we had Kurt Angle with the milk bath and Steve Austin with the beard washing. Do you notice that seems to be missing? Can you tell me why that has been being left out? Because I found it more entertaining watching something humorous within the wrestling ring.
Good question. I think we got New Day.
Yeah, if you think, you know, pancakes are funny. No, I'm with you though, I agree. Like, there was a time when it was so entertaining to see the in-between matches stuff, like when Goldust and Booker T, you know, making us laugh every week. And they actually brought in comedy writers that were supposed to be helping with the storylines at that one point. I miss it because I was entertained by it, and I thought, you know, the vignettes are a great way to learn, to get to know the wrestlers, get to know how they are outside of the ring, their personality and whatever. Even back then, a lot of mine that I know a lot of people enjoyed a lot of my promos that weren't necessarily my favorites because they thought that all I could say is cool or whatever. And so a lot of those were written like that, where people be talking, and I go, cool. And, you know, hopefully it came across funny. At the time, though, I felt, you know, a little frustrated in the creative department, but they're like, hey, give us ideas if you don't like ours. They're usually open to that. And, I miss that stuff, and I wish there was more of it, more comedy.
I think the comedy was great, but the company doesn't work that way. The company works by numbers, by profit. They look at the numbers. If the comedy's bringing a certain amount of numbers and they go down, they change direction. If the direction does not work, they change back to the other way. It's not like you think, oh, we need more comedy because it was funny back then. Maybe we were laughing, but the ratings are higher now. Maybe we were laughing more back then, which we were, but maybe it's more profitable now. They're not stupid. They know what makes money and what don't make money, or they wouldn't do it.
You don't have to get hot.
I'm getting hot because it's a business. It's a business.
But heard that RVD equaled numbers, and they kind of went like a different route with him. Whatever that
Well, you did equal numbers. You're a great entertainer, you drew a lot of money, but do you think there's a whole team looking at these numbers in the office and they say, well, the ratings dropped by 2 points when we showed this. We lost this many viewers once we aired this. So what do? Let's make it funny things. Let's do funny things again. No, let's do what made the numbers go up. They're not doing what made the numbers go down. They're not stupid. And I'm not trying to be argumentative about this. I really aren't. You know I'm right.
You sound like you are.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm being logical.
But can I add to that though that they cycle through what their process is and what equals numbers to them changes. Like whether it's every 3 or 4 months, there'll be a time where they say, you know what? If you don't kick out, then you're fucking finished. My referees need credits. There was a time when I was in WCW where Bill Watts banned the top rope. We couldn't jump off the top rope because he wanted to get back to old school. So I'm used to like the rotation of the process. Like so when someone young asked me like, how come they used to do like TNA and all this, but now they say that's not cool. I feel like they cycle through, and that's to keep up with the times. I guess.
Yeah, I agree that 100%. But I do agree it's a business, and they're looking at the logic and the profit of the business, and they make decisions off of those numbers.
And not off of egos ever?
Sometimes egos can be mistaken. An ego could be mistaken by not being in the direction that you want to see, but yet it's in the direction which is profitable.
If you guys can assemble your own Survivor Series team, which 4 other wrestlers, past or present, would you want to be on your team?
I'm gonna go with this panel right here. We're Team Hamilton Comic Con.
Yeah. You already know. I don't even have to say it. Hey, what's the other one? There you go.
So who is it? Take count. Let's take count.
I would have to pick Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, Kurt Angle, and RVD.
I'd take my dad, my son, Bob Backlund, and Andre the Giant. And we just let Andre take care of business.
All right, one more question. Okay, 2 more questions. Come on up.
Thank you. Miss Barbie, you are awesome, physical specimen. You're just beautiful. You too, thank you for making my childhood. RVD, you're the man. Question that I have.
What am I, wood?
So thank you for making my childhood, both of you.
Bob, you're the man.
Yes, both of you guys. All right. Question that I have. They pushed Hogan in the 80s. Huge. He was the mark, he was the face. With that engine, who else would be the face if it wasn't for Hogan in the 80s? Do you believe would have what it takes?
Yeah, who around the Hogan era could have taken over?
The only guy that I can think of, and admittedly I was mostly a kid during most of that time, but doesn't it seem like next to Hogan, the only logical guy to be that popular and move in the spot would have been Randy Savage? Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper too. I don't know. I think Snooker was kind of on his way out by the time I started really getting into it. And I think when I watched it, Macho Man and Roddy Piper was everybody's favorite wrestlers.
I say Roddy Piper, I agree with that. The guy was awesome. The guy was awesome. When he came back at the end, he said to me, if you have any power in this company, please tell him to take these papers away from me and just send me out there and let me wing it. The guy could wing it. He didn't want it to be written. He wanted to go out there and wing it.
You don't have to get hot, bro.
All right, our last question.
Hi, this is for the whole panel. What would you guys say is the most talented superstar of each of your eras?
As a wrestler, not a superstar. Well, all right. So I'm going to go from this perspective. To be the best professional wrestler, there's a lot of elements to it. You have to be able to obviously perform in the ring, but you also have to be able to survive and get ahead in that environment, which, you know, the environment behind the curtain is different than the fans see. I just mean you have to be able to shark your way through the political waters. You have to be able to, you have to be open enough to be the foot they're going to put forward, you know what I mean? Because you have to be able to represent the values that they want you to represent, not necessarily just your own if there's a contrast. You know, it's the lead guy, just like, you know, the number one guy on your football team or the lead actor in a movie. No matter how you look at it, the best wrestler is the guy that Vince is going to get his investment back out of the most. And for that reason, I think maybe John Cena.
Yes!
Might not be a popular answer, but I honestly, I couldn't do it.
Right, in the 80s, John Cena was only like 12.
I was only 16. So.
I would say in my year, it's Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
My era, me. I got involved in the behind-the-scenes stuff. Never did Roddy handle all that. I just went to the ring, tried to have the best match of the night. That's all I ever did, and that's what I did.
Beth Phoenix. All around, I love wrestling her. I love watching her. I just admire her, and I think she was the best.
By the way, is anyone else worried about Jake the Snake in the bathroom this long?
Can somebody call DEP?
It's like a good old days.
All right. One last question for the panel, for myself, and we'll get you out here. I'm sure everybody kind of has this question for everyone. We look at the business where it is now, where the Fed is, and then you're looking at the indie scene, and you look at something like the Young Bucks and what Cody just did with All In. Is this, like, it's a great time for wrestling, especially on the indie scene. Is there a way that they're ever going to be able to mesh the two, though?
What I think is back in my day, we had Sheiks, we had Russians, we had Giants, you name it, we had, you know, King Kong, Bundy, you know, everything. Everything was good, we had everybody, everything was covered. Nowadays, I think a lot of guys, because they go to the same schools and the same training camps, you see a lot of the same stuff, so therefore you don't have that diversity. It'd be nice for me if I saw the diversity again, you know, like every match would be different. That's what I think. They're doing fantastic without that, so you know I'm probably wrong.
Well, that's one of the big complaints. Or maybe not a complaint, but a concern we see from a lot of the whole generation wrestlers from past years. You know, they call it spot recognition or anything like that. But it's something that can kind of like experience. It's been an evolution. How do you guys feel? Because you're kind of in the middle, right? And Steve Boy's come from the classic era of wrestling, which made wrestling what it was. How do you guys feel?
I feel right now that the Indies are making a big comeback. I think the Indies right now are impressing the big leagues. Right now it's happening, right now. And the big leagues are noticing. And they're pulling them up. So anybody in the Indies, work your ass off.
I agree with Bob that there's not enough variety, variation. When I was coming up, I was the only one that did my moves. I was just telling somebody at the table that I've been surprised that no one has done my moves like my whole career, because I see them stealing other ones. You know, some people, their finishing move is whatever the other guy that left the federation used to do. You know, how many versions of the same move do you see in different organizations? But for whatever reason, and I don't think it's because nobody can physically do what I did, you know what I mean? But no one was doing like the Rolling Thunder. Some people do the split-legged moonsault, a couple now, but my whole career nobody was doing that. Maybe my corkscrew leg drop off the apron, maybe that one would fuck most people up. Maybe that's why they stay away from that one. But I started like in all Japan, all the guys are really big. They thought I was crazy because I was the only one that was diving to the floor, doing backflips off the guardrail. And even when I came to WWE in 2001, Jim Ross told me, you're not going to be able to do your style anymore because we work too much. You can't do that every single day and be able to keep up with it because you'll be too beat up. On, which I did prove him wrong. But now, like, I'll go to wrestling school sometimes because my girlfriend, Katie Forbes, is up and coming. And my only interest is to help her out. But when I go to the school, everybody is doing everybody's moves. My moves, whatever moves they see on TV. And Katie, they had Katie doing a Hurricane Rana off the top rope before she knew how to do a headlock. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. But that's what they teach in the school. And it's like every single student is like what used to be the one individual that stood out because they were so acrobatic. And everybody does the moonsault in the school, and everybody, even the 450, they had everyone lining up doing a 450 under a mat. Like, that's insane. So I agree with Bob on that. And I knew that the indies were coming up. A few years ago, I got booked in England at this group called PCW in Manchester. And the crowd was so supportive. In interviews, I said right away, this is what's going to happen. Maryland, too, same thing. I said all these different territories are getting their own followings, and the crowd not only are they getting a good show, but they want to see their town product succeed. And so I knew everything was going to bust out to the indies, and that was going to grow. Now, just like myself, there's other wrestlers that can make more money doing the indie shows than they can being under a full-time contract for way less work too. But I don't know about combining them except for just rating all the talent. They acknowledge them, like they did something in Scotland where Triple H appeared in a Scotland show and acknowledged them. And usually when they do that, they're trying to get the fingers into different markets. They have reason behind acknowledging these other ones. But what's going to happen, because everybody is a spot monkey now and everyone is, how do you stand out in that manner when someone's doing a double gainer flip off the top rope to the floor? You can't just keep out doing it. It seems like you used to be able to, but now it's up so high, the standards are so high. What's going to happen is a lot of wrestlers that miss what it was like a few years ago, whether they realize what you're missing or not about it, that's going to return, and it's the substance of the story you're telling in the ring, the psychology of what's going on, and I know that's where it's going to go. I've worked a few shows recently, like with John Hennigan, where everybody was doing everything, and we worked the headlock for so long and kept going back to the headlock, and every wrestler afterwards said, wow, we learned so much from watching that match. And it's like, that's what's going to happen, is everyone's going to have to fill back in that gap. Because, by the way, I'm not used to being the youngest guy on the panel, so this is cool. But I have like almost 30 years in the business, and these guys have more than I do. And we've obviously all been trained by old school. The guys nowadays, the kids nowadays, they got trained by other kids. And so there is a gap missing between that old school psychology that the Sheik pounded into me. I don't see that at all. It's going to come back though, and that's what's going to happen.
You got to start with the basics. Start with the basics. That's all you got to do. Start with the basics.
I never would. what helped me get over, even though when I look at my ACW shit, I can find all kinds of psychological flaws in that style now, but we were in the competitive mind back then doing it, but I never and Sabu taught me this, and Sheik, I never replaced a good wrestling match with extreme shit. I added extreme shit onto the good wrestling match, and that's what's missing.
All right, so has everybody had a good time here? Ladies and gentlemen, I will give a huge applause, stand up, and thank these legends of wrestling for being here today.